Welcome to the MMA Roadshow, episode number 500. And one.
I was like,
did we just do that last week? My name is John Morgan, and Cold Coffee is with me. That's right. We had the big 500 celebration last week. It is 501.
So good. We want to redo it.
It was a good time, a good trip down memory lane. Had a couple people reach out and say they enjoyed kind of the old stories. Some things we should focus on over there for sure. The old times. We have gone through a lot over the years for sure. So maybe something we can do a little bit more. Perusing of the old days and that sort of thing.
While we still can remember.
Because some of it's starting to get a little fuzzy already, and it's only going to get worse.
Some been fuzzy, and it just comes back in glimpses, and you're like, I'm pretty sure that's how that happened.
I think
I was there. I think we were there.
I'm pretty sure we were at some point.
The show says we were there. I don't remember.
That is kind of weird when there's like entire trips you don't remember to places. You're like, I guess we were there, but I couldn't tell you what it looked like.
It's always funny when, somebody's like, oh, remember when we came back here in whatever so-and-so year, and like, No,
and
then you walk through the building and you're like, oh wait, there's an escalator around the corner, and then it's up on the second. That when you walk around the corner, and you're like, there's the escalator. Yep, there's this.
Like in an airport or something, you're like, oh yeah, no, I remember this spot right here, or in a building.
That's crazy.
It is weird how that works, man.
That's crazy.
All right, first things first. Did you break out your winter coat? I mean, I'm sure you got. It's.
Is it winter?
It is, sir.
I thought it said it was 60-ish.
Sir,
outside.
It is 61 degrees in Las Vegas. That is officially winter.
That is fall.
You've got to have the winter stuff.
I see you have your pullover zipped up.
I did just break out the hoodie. No, I've had it for a little while.
Oh, okay.
So I think it's maybe a Reebok hoodie.
Yeah, it's a Reebok.
Yeah,
one.
so it's kind of old.
They recently, I don't remember them advertising this, but like at the UFC warehouse, like one of the last weigh-ins. They were like, oh, the warehouse is doing like a big 40, 50, 70%
where they get rid of all the old stuff for cheap.
Dumping all kinds of stuff.
Wow.
And I guess there was like a line. I was like, how do people find out about this? Because they said like other people there, like all the staff was going, but then they said other people. And I knew other media
like
guys
public
were going.
Oh, really?
I was like, how do people find out about this?
Yeah, I didn't hear about that. Every now and then, I ordered a couple like Venom did a closeout sale where they were selling like their jackets that are like $100-something for like $10, but it only had like women's sizes, and it had like kind of off sizes that they were closing out.
Put it in the closet and just motivate yourself. You're like, I'm gonna get into
that women's jacket.
This women's jacket someday. I gotta get on this. Let me check the scale. I'm gonna see if I can get one arm in this jacket. I got one arm in.
I think it's got a bit of a different tapered look to it as well.
Perhaps
to form fit that's not my form, but. Yeah, I was laughing because on the way over here it was funny. Like the first in my neighborhood as I was driving over here, there was like a woman that had on like a full length coat. I mean, I got out the hoodie or whatever. She had on like the full length jacket. I was like, I bet Cold Coffee's Ohio ass is sitting over there with the door open and a t-shirt on. Yeah.
What's funny? I forgot about it the other day because I didn't check the weather, and it was like one of the days that actually dropped down in the 60s. So I get out. I start walking the car to load it in, and I was like, ooh, it's a bit brisk. I still had shorts and T-shirt on, and I was like, should I go in and put pants on? I was like, nah, I think I'm okay. But literally everybody I bumped into at the UFC was like, are you okay? You warm? I was like, bro, this ain't cold. I was like, don't get me started. But yeah, 60, this would be like fall weather back home. This is when jeans is cool, and you put like a little pullover on. And then you're good. Anything more than that, you run the risk of sweating.
It's going to be down in 40 degrees tonight, but I was just looking here at my phone app. I was like, you know what? As long as I'm in here seeing the weather, what it's going to be like, I'm going to see what it's going to be like in Cheyenne, where we're going on this. Well, actually, I'm leaving tomorrow, which is one reason we're getting together a day early to do the podcast. Tomorrow, the high in Cheyenne, Wyoming, is 42 degrees.
Oh, that's nice.
With a low of 29.
That's nice. It just makes you think of like hot cocoa, bundling up. A little cocoa, a little hot chocolate.
That's gonna be chilly.
That's cold.
Ooh, that scares me a little bit.
That's cold.
That scares me.
I mean, but this is the time of year now. If you can get out and do hiking at some of the places here in town that you couldn't get to before. Because the sun's gonna be out. It's just a little bit more brisk. But what's nice now is because you could actually layer up a little bit. I prefer the layers as opposed to one big heavy coat, because the one big heavy coat, it's all or nothing.
Right.
And if it gets too hot, you have to take it off and carry that heavy ass coat. Whereas at least if it's layers, you could take one little layer off and it's not as much to take around. But this is perfect.
Listen,
right
we are
now.
essentially a branch of the Las Vegas Visitors Association.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I will say, as
Yes.
unofficial representatives of that association, Vegas is actually an underrated place for like outdoor stuff. Like,
Oh yeah.
obviously everybody thinks about the strips, and now the strips, the strip. They think of the strips in the strips clubs, I
Yeah.
guess, but they think of the strip.
There are plural when it comes to strip
They,
clubs.
they think of the stadiums. We now have the all the sports and stuff that's here. But yeah, between like between Red Rock, between just all the little hiking places,
Yep.
between Mount Charleston, between the lake as well, Lake
Yep.
Mead. I mean, there's actually a lot of like cool like outdoorsy stuff.
Yeah, and especially if you're willing to even just drive over the border, you can go to Utah. A lot of people go up to Utah for stuff for like
Beautiful
fishing
parks
and
up
stuff,
there,
and
man.
then on the
Beautiful
other
parks.
side, going to Arizona, Willow Beach and some of the areas to camp out and stuff there. But yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Obviously, when you say we're part of the Vegas convention or the commerce or the visitors authority, we certainly are not ones voting for the FU1.
Oh. You just had to.
I had to bring it back in.
To bring
Those
it back
little
up.
motherfuckers.
It
these
is true,
little
man. We still got another
motherfuckers.
month to deal with, man. Still another month to go.
Well, now it's because it's getting closer and closer, and you're starting to see more stuff. And then now you're starting to see some tweets come out, from other people that are starting to get disgruntled as well. And there's part of me that just warms me up because I'm like, yes.
Well, just think.
I'm not
You
alone.
hate it, and you work from home.
Yeah.
You don't even have to be down there every day. You know what I mean? Think about the people that got to drive
I
that
hate
stuff
it for them.
every day.
I'm hating it for them.
Yeah.
I'm sharing their hate.
Anybody that has to go down there every day?
It sucks.
Miserable.
It sucks. I had some people that came into town. They hit me up. So tell me, we want to drive through the strip. I was like, it's not as bad as it could have been.
Right.
It's still gonna suck. And they were like, but we can go by the fountains. I was like, yes, you can go by them.
You just can't see
You
them.
just cannot see them.
You will see a little tip of the fountain splashing above the massive grandstand that has been parked there for a month already and still has a month to go,
Yeah.
blocking the Bellagio fountains.
I always tell people if you really want to see them, go into the casino and look from the backside
You have
out
to.
because you can't do it from the front. But whatever. But yes, come to
love it.
Vegas.
Just had to take a
enjoy.
shot.
I had to get one in there. I had to do my part.
Just another 8 years left on the partnership.
Yeah. Well, let's see what happens after this year.
Think people are going to push back and say, get it out? We don't
mean,
want it back?
if the numbers don't get better, last year's numbers were paltry. It was nothing, and they're still dealing with I believe those class action suits. They haven't gone away.
The people that lost money.
So say if they, they got like a fourth of what they promised last year, maybe 50%, what they wanted. If it happens again and they start having to put the economic report to report how the businesses are being affected, at some point, you got to cut your losses.
Right.
And I'm not just saying that from Vegas' side. F1 might just be like, this is not worth it.
Bad
for
PR.
us.
It's bad.
PR, and they're putting tons of money. I think they're cutting back on what they're promoting into it. Last year, there was a much more stuff that you were hearing F1 being pushed everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't get the same push. I don't see the same push coming from the
I hadn't
F1
thought about that, but you're right. It
organization.
seemed like it was broadcast everywhere.
I think they were hoping that just word of mouth would do it, and so many international people coming to town just for the F1
Never
that they
been to Vegas
figured that they wouldn't have to do it. But yeah, so I think at some point they're going to probably cut their losses on their end. So yeah, you have a right to do 10 years, but if they're not making money, do you want to keep doing this? And especially if everybody hates you. Who knows?
Wouldn't seem me want to.
I mean, there's a lot of uses now that paddock or whatever they call it, that building's built. We could definitely repurpose it.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not like it has to go away. We'll find a use for it.
It had some nice parties in there, right?
Yeah,
You
we'll
got to
find
hang
a
out
use
there.
for it.
Oh, we'll find a use for it. Don't you worry about that. All right, listen, UFC 308, of course, everybody's still buzzing a little bit from that event. You and I actually got to watch it together, at least the main card, and do the and a half episode. So first things first, I really enjoyed doing the and a half episode with you, so I need you to quit your job so that you're available more.
Done. Easy enough. Easy enough.
Just walk away.
all I do is stay at home and screen record Zoom meetings anyways, so
Might as well.
Might as well.
Walk away. But listen, you had a couple days to process it. I was trying to figure out a way to frame this, and I don't know if it is. I guess is there one person? Because basically, man, Ilia Topuria is now undeniable in his greatness. Like, if you're an Ilia Topuria hater at this point, you're literally just a hater. Like, I just don't think you can pick many holes in his skills or who he is as an athlete. It's not a trumped up record that doesn't belong as undefeated. You know what I mean? Like, it's legit. The dude's skills are painfully evident. But then also you had the return of Hamzat Chimaev, where I think a lot of people had felt the hype train was slowing a little bit, and people were like, oh, is he the bust or whatever? And I think now we see, man, that guy is the real deal.
Still dangerous as
yeah,
ever.
He's still that guy that we thought he was before, all the illnesses and the troubles or whatever. So I guess the easiest way to frame it is just, is there one of those two guys that you walked away with more impressed by or more surprised now that you've had a couple days? Because I'm having trouble. I'm having trouble picking. Like, those are two just
performances were so.
Yes.
They were so dominant.
Just epic performance. Like, I don't know if I can differentiate one from the other. I guess maybe Ilya is simply because it's a title defense, and those obviously are more meaningful anytime gold is on the line.
Yeah, I could see that.
But man, Hamzat, I feel like there's growing momentum, and I'm sorry to say this for Sean Strickland, but I feel like the more people that I talk to and the more people that I ask them about it, they're like, I kind of want to see Hamzat and Dricus right now, not Sean and Dricus. I mean, I know that's an unfinished story, and yes, it was controversial, and there's a lot of people that feel like Sean won, and so righting the wrong, et cetera, but gosh, and I know too that, this is very much a sport that is just laced with recency bias, right? Where whatever we see last, but I do feel like there's growing momentum. So I don't know, man. I'm having trouble picking which guy I was more impressed by on the night, or which was the more meaningful performance.
Yeah, both of them were just incredible, dominant performances. I think when it's funny, we talked about Hamzat and could he steal the hype? I don't think anybody expected him to be able to do what he did to Robert Whittaker seemingly as easy as he did. And the fact that, even though it came out maybe with the teeth and the jaw, there was all this sort of medical condition going back to his thing. I don't want to take that away, because still you have to crank that hard to do what he did and to be so dominant. I guess going forward, and I guess when you look at, whose momentum is going to ride higher after this, I would say Ilya, because one, we talked a little bit about, all right, well, what are you able to do with these guys after the fact? You start looking at where, potential matchups. Hamzat, as we mentioned in the and a half show, he's limited on where he can go. So when you start thinking about, all right, who can we match him up with? Where can it go? It kind of steals some of the thunder, because you're like, man, I'd love to see him match up with so-and-so, even though so-and-so's got to fight. Oh, but how about we wait until third quarter here in the States? Oh, no, well, we can't do that one. We have one shot down in Australia, or do we want to take it down into South Africa, or South America and South Africa? Can he do it? Is he willing to even go? I feel like
that's an interesting point.
I'm wondering what Hamzat, and especially we said about a little bit after, depending on who he's bringing with him, is going to be very limited in a lot of these places that he wants to go. So taking that and just putting that on the table of, okay, the big potential matchups that we can have. Yes, we can have potential matchups, but when you take
that's a great observation.
So many locations off, it limits where you go, and it's like, is that the one I want there? Is that the fight I really want? Because, and I guess going back to just the performance itself, it was so dominant. It was fantastic, and it was just so Hamzat doing Hamzat. But do I really want to watch Hamzat doing Hamzat? I think when we watch say if it was DDP, I think there's always a question, oh man, how is he going to stop him? How's he going to stop him? There's a point where you're like, man, if he does stop him, you can get that nice hands throwing, whatever. Just see guys just slugging. I want to see somebody get knocked out. I want to see somebody get knocked out.
That's a great point, too.
I don't want to see somebody just riding some dude's back and being such like a backpack, so swarming. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Like, you as a fighter need to be able to get that dude off your back.
Right.
And if you can't, all credit to him. It's the same thing when we used to say, you can't take away what Ronda did at the start of her run because the women couldn't fight the armbar.
Yeah.
That ain't her fault.
Not my fault.
Same with Hamzat. You can't. It's not his fault. He's
point,
so
man.
dominant. But I'd rather see a slugging, just throwing hands.
What's funny
in the middle of the cage.
So your first point is spot on. Because Ilya, and it's funny because I hadn't thought of it, because we all know that they want to do Ilya in Spain next, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, well, we know it's going to be in Spain, but you're 100% right. If for some reason that doesn't work out, and they're like, well, we want him to headline International Fight Week in Las Vegas,
you can do that.
Okay. Well, we want to take him to Madison Square Garden. That's a year away.
You
can do that, right? Like, everybody's going to be like, absolutely. Like, that dude can literally headline anywhere in the world right now. We know it's probably going to be Spain, but he literally could. And if it was Abu Dhabi, he's got the ties to Georgia as well, so it's like
Yep.
he can do that also. I mean, you're right. That's a spot. That is a brilliant point that I hadn't thought of, and you're spot on.
Because if Hamzat gets the belt,
Then what?
we're going to defend it once a year?
Right.
Or, I mean, I know they want to go over there more often, but it's a hard lift for them to go over there, and it's at the the welcome of the country.
Yep.
A country that is not how should I say this politely, has ties and openness to a lot of people in the region that at times are not happy with the United States.
That was a very polite way to say that.
So it's like sometimes of the year is probably better than others to have a bunch of Americans and a bunch of people from the West flying over there. And other times might not be the best time. So do you want to have a belt stuck in a region that you maybe, but then they're forcing themselves,
Yep.
To at least go back there once. One's not a problem, but we want more than one defense a year, if we possibly can.
That's a great point. So I hadn't thought about that, but your second point is what I really hadn't thought about. But it's because I am such a fan of grappling, I love it, right? And I know you are too. I know that you're not like I hate jiu-jitsu. You said it, but you are right. The majority of fans want to see. Knockout of the year stuff, right? You know what I mean? I want to see Holloway Gaethje.
Not just a
I want to
performance
see
of the night bonus because you dominated the
right.
dude.
They want to see title.
Yeah.
They want to see what Topuria did, right? Where it's like, yeah, I did take you down once, but we weren't staying there. Like, I just want to let you know that I could.
And he stood in the middle at the very beginning, just like you said. He was like, if you want, we can do this right here, right now.
I heard look, that to me, I love that so much.
Yeah.
I heard a lot of people that didn't like that. They're like, Max already said he wasn't going to engage you there. I'm like, don't care. I said I was going to, and I did it. I'm right here in the center. Let's go. And he probably knew at that point, like Max is, and Max was on the like it's not like Max flinched at him or anything.
Yeah.
Like he knew when they're going in, it's not going to happen. But I love it. You said you were going to, and I did it.
And you did.
You want it? Here's your shot. No? Okay. Then I'll go beat you anyway.
Now we'll
that.
just fight.
I loved it, man. I absolutely loved it. I thought that was low-key savage. So good stuff from UFC 308. A great
I think
event.
Whitaker tried to do that in the middle. I think he pointed, but Hamzat took that as start your takedown here? And then end it over there by the cage.
Listen, we talked about it on the and a half as well, but I to me it was amazing to me. Like that dude didn't bother to set up his shot or nothing. It's just like, here I come.
I'm coming and
rushing at you.
18 feet later, we're going to be against the cage.
Not faking a punch to get your hands up. Like, I'm just driving.
So dominant. It was so dominant. I mean, like, again, like, you can't take anything away from that performance as much as even, as I said, like, I want to see him slamming and knocking and see the questions. A lot of people still feel like they haven't seen. I mean, if you have a dominant performance like that, I could get it where some people are like, but dude, we didn't see his cardio really because, he could do that shit for 30 minutes, 30-minute rounds. I get it, but still, while there still are some questions, you can't take anything away from that dominant performance. It's just, people, when you love a guy like Whitaker and you love his fight style, for him never, ever to get anything off because he was initially right from the get-go trying to
just defense
to
the whole time.
And then he got his back taken, and then it was like, and it's like, well, we knew that could happen.
Like, if that round ends, that's a 10-8 round, right? I mean, zero offense whatsoever.
Easy.
It's a 10-8 round.
Easy.
All right, listen, you kind of alluded to in a joking fashion, but you and I were both observing hearings of different kinds this morning. I was on the NSAC hearing, which we'll get to that in a minute, and you were at the Jon Jones hearing. What can you tell us about that? Yeah, I should say virtually. You were screen recording, which I guess it turns out you were screen recording a screen record because Jon wasn't actually there in person. He was joining. So you were virtually observing his virtual connection.
That's it. In fact, the particular court, it felt like it was like a traffic court because everybody that was ahead of him, for the most part, had different bench warrants out, and a lot of them were for transportation, like moving violations and other stuff. I was like, how the heck did he get it into this court? I was like, this is the court you want it to be in, where they're just like, so-and-so didn't have his license and he didn't do that. I'm like, yeah, that you have a potential assault charge, and you're like, yeah, you're in the same court. Like, you're in the good court, bro. Like, good job getting that placed.
That is interesting.
But so he was in his lawyer's office, and they dialed him remotely. And, I think that's the way that this particular court, in fact, the woman who was the one that initially was for the witness or pressed the charges or whatever, she was virtually there. She never popped on, but she was available. The police officer was there, and he was available. And what I did like about it was that the judge made sure you had to turn on your camera. Like the officer was already ready, had the camera on. When John's lawyer first hopped on and said, "I'm here, with Mr. Jones. He's here with my office," and the judge is like, "Can he hop on the screen, or can you show me that he's there? Can you whatever?" So he panned his computer over, and then John actually stayed in the frame from that point. So I liked that. I was like, good judge. Like the judge wanted to see everybody. And that wasn't just for them. Every other case that happened before that.
I want to know that whoever's here is actually here. I just want to talk to a lawyer.
Yeah. So there was a lieutenant that was on when the police officer, I could tell that she wasn't thinking that she was having to go on camera. So like she popped on, and you could tell she was like in her kitchen, like on the kitchen table or whatever, just sitting in her sweatshirt. There was another guy in the sweatshirt, and he had multiple ones. So it wasn't just Jones and his team that they were like, oh, I want to see this person on camera. She did it for everybody, but I thought that was nice and fair and appreciated that. But they got on there, and before anything really sort of started, they were like, she's like, all right, so how should we proceed with this case? And the prosecutor side said, well, we've come to an agreement, and the John's lawyer said, yes, and if you want, I can help speak on that. And then at that point, he kind of just took over and was just like, so we've come to a prejudicated, I wrote the phrase down.
The adjudication diversion agreement.
That's it. Adjudication diversion agreement. And I was just like, how did you spell that?
Well, it's funny because I saw that John tweeted afterwards, like, this affirms my innocence. I'm like, I don't know that it does.
I was like, it's so funny when I saw that too, and I was just like, I guess that's one way of phrasing that. When we come to a plea agreement, I mean that's the same thing.
When you're not guilty.
When guys have gotten like rape and assault charges and stuff, and it's got put down. Remember, they say, "Well, I was never guilty of that."
Right,
or whatever,
never found guilty or whatever.
Because they get plea deal out of shit. And it's
you weren't found innocent.
Yeah. So it's interesting, but whatever. Regardless,
semantics.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all felt that there was probably some questionable sides on both sides, like the whole that it was put as an assault charge in the first place.
Like I'm sure John was a little bit rude or was a little bit annoyed, but like, is it really criminal?
Assault? Yeah. So, but it was kind of interesting. But and to that, he was assigned 4 hours of anger management that he had to do, and he has to keep his nose clean for 90 days. And if he's done, if he does the 4 hours,
that was.
Well, well, he doesn't have to actually keep his nose clean. He just needs to stay out of trouble, So 90 days with no more infractions, no more trouble. Hopefully keep his nose clean. Then the charges will get dismissed. So, I mean, I thought that was about as good an outcome as possible, So 4 hours of anger management course, which I bet you could probably do virtually online. I bet you don't have to go any place.
It's probably some kind of video training.
Just watch it for 4 hours from your house and be good for 90 days. So that means after Madison Square Garden, say he wins, which most of us predict that he does, go straight to the airport, go home, stay home for the next month or so after that, hit your 90 days, and then do it. Do not go out.
I love that that's like the running joke when he's in Vegas or whatever, and Dana's just like, I just need to go home.
And New York ain't no different, except that shit's not open as long as but I guarantee you can find places
you can find
open.
There's some after-hour spots for sure.
So, go home.
Look, it did seem like a very, very fair agreement. Like you said it, and I think spot on. It always seemed like a bit of a weird charge. Like, come on, man. Like, he didn't really.
I felt like this could have happened a while back. Since it came to this, I felt like they could have made this decision. A while ago.
Well, good for him. Glad nothing's going to stand in the way. I don't think anything ever was going to stand in the way of the matchup happening, but glad it's resolved and one less thing for him to deal with. So, looking forward to Madison Square Garden. I think I'm going to be there on fight night. I got to finalize my travel schedule. I'm going to get that done this week, but I think I'm going to be there on fight night. So,
you should come out on Wednesday so you can hop on a media day.
I will not be there on Wednesday. I've got some traveling to do.
That's why I said you should come out on Wednesday.
It's a little early in the week, a lot going on.
Well, Thursday there's a press conference.
Pre-production
you want
to
come to the press conference?
I can't. Now Thursday I can't be there. I could actually be there on Wednesday. Thursday I can't because I got to be in Bowies Creek, North Carolina. We'll be at Campbell University.
Oh, wrestle.
That'll be on Friday. And then Sunday of that week, we'll be in Toms River, New Jersey, actually. So Frankie Edgar will be in the house, of course. Anything that happens in combat sports, he'll be there. But,
I'm familiar with that part of Jersey.
In between, I figure, I got to go from North Carolina to Jersey. So I figure, why not? Let's just roll by Madison Square Garden on Saturday and check it out. Because, man,
you're just going to go straight to the airport after it?
I think so. Or, well, I think it's only like an hour and a half to Tom's River from there. So I think like maybe
Oh,
just
wow.
either rent a car or take a subway or something,
Where you gonna
or
sleep?
train.
Are
I
you gonna,
guess.
are you gonna sleep? Or are you gonna try to find Jones' after party?
No, I'm gonna go to the after party and say, John,
go home.
go home. Remember that plea adjudication diversion agreement, sir?
Sir.
I need you to get out of here. We got to get this Aspinall fight lined up. What are we doing? Let's go. Get on out of here. Go home.
So you believe that'll happen?
The Aspinall fight?
Yeah. Dana certainly believes that it's a matter of somebody wants contracts signed after the fact. He seemed pretty confident the other day when he was.
I did think the other day that he was like, I think the fight everybody wants to see is Jones and Aspinall. I'm like, so you're counting out Stipe too?
Well,
or I guess
true.
It's fair to say because we know Stipe's retiring either way.
Yeah.
We know that. Stipe said that's the last fight.
Yeah.
So I guess it is fair to say that. But we wanted to see Jones Aspinall, but Jones lost, so now we're not going to see it, right? Like you're not sliding anybody by saying.
Because say Stipe pulls off, a wonderful fight and he takes the belt, and he's going to retire regardless. They don't just make Aspinall's interim belt the belt, right? They'll make him unified. They couldn't just be like, well,
they could, but why?
Yeah,
right. Like have a fight for it.
Yeah. Especially because they kept it separate for so long. It's like, you're just going to give it to me anyways?
So do you think if Jones lost, do you go to Jones anyway for the heavyweight?
That's
just go to Aspinall anyway, Jones Aspinall anyway?
I mean, if it was Champ's choice, that's who Aspinall would ask for. If they said something to him and said, I know he just lost, but we know he's the GOAT. But yeah, I mean, that's the only thing that makes sense, because especially after everybody's been talking about what other fight do people want to see? Aspinall fight. That's the only fight that anybody's been thinking about right now.
That's it. No,
months.
The only thing is if we get wild and we talk about Alex Bejeda moving up, you know what I mean? Which, maybe he takes that opportunity to seize a heavyweight title. But you're right. As far as as far as matchups
where would
available,
you put that fight?
That's a good question.
Because I mean, that's like you want at that point. It's Aspinall's choice. So like, do you take it over to the UK somewhere? Or do you say, Alex, come fight over here in the UK, or do you say,
go to Brazil?
Do you go to Brazil?
That'd be
It has
cool.
to be one of the two.
It's a good question.
But
it's a good question, and
I don't think we're gonna have to worry about that because I think it's gonna be.
It's like, there's so many steps that would have to happen.
The way that Dana was just like, he's like, as much as we've sort of everybody's been planning on that both guys were gonna walk away after this, that Jones didn't want to. Dana seemed pretty darn confident that he believes it's just gonna be a matter of getting the pen on the paper, getting the right number on the paper that would make it happen, So if I'm Jones and he wins, and if you truly want to retire, why not take one last huge pay? Because if this Stipe isn't enough for that to be, and you have any inclination that you might want to fight again, then do it once more for one big, ginormous fat check that Dana and Jon Jones could be talking about forever as the biggest payout. That, see, Francis, if you would have stuck around, you could have got this.
Oh, that does add a wrinkle to it, right? That does add a wrinkle to it right there. I hadn't even thought about that.
They say something like it was the biggest payout ever, and Francis could have got part of this. He didn't want that fight. He didn't want that fight.
He didn't want it. He's all about the money.
He loves that phrase. Yeah. He loves it.
And it's funny. Yeah, he uses it. And he understands that he's saying it by saying he didn't want it under the terms that we offered it to him, but he just leaves that part of that. Yeah. You know what I meant by that. So true. But you know what? But you're spot on, because man, I was thinking about it, right? Because we talked about this before. But what else would you do with Aspinall, right? Because it has to be Aspinall, Ciryl Gane, right? Because right now, if you look at the heavyweight rankings, Aspinall's 1, obviously, is the interim champ. Ciryl Gane is number 2. Alexander Volkov is number 3. He's already beaten Volkov. Sergey Pavlovich is number 4. He's already beaten Sergey Pavlovich. Curtis Blades is number 5. He's already beat Curtis Blades. Yep. Then you go to 6, Jailton Almeida. I mean, a little early for him, but either way.
But I mean, if you have to run it that far down, I mean,
right. And even if it's the only fight you can make is Aspinall Gane, and I just can't see people being like, not after what happened to Gane last time out. So.
But if there had to be that option,
Jon Jones.
If Jon was like, I am really done.
Is that Brinks truck out there backing up here in New Mexico? Where is it at? Beep, beep, back it up. Back up the Brinks truck.
Man's had some legal fees. He needs a little extra cheese, to cover things.
Oh man!
But I mean, but I did feel good to feel like, because I think at some point I was already sort of telling myself that this was it for them.
Yeah.
I thought there was the potential, but I kind of still was sort of sure in my my heart for the fact that we'll never see that fight. But hearing Dana say that gave me a glimmer, almost like we've already sort of joked a little bit about it, but I can't tell you guys. But he didn't say that. But that's sort of the vibe I got, was that he felt like there was some potential that Jones would stick around for the right amount, and that makes me happy. Now I believe that we maybe will see the Jones-Stipe, that we're not going to get robbed by it. So fingers crossed. But unless Stipe pulls out some magic.
That'd be amazing. Just the chaos that would cause, bro. The chaos that would cause.
People would just shit on Jones. I'm like, what have you been doing? You know, if Stipe can, because most people think that Stipe's. I mean, I know he's training to stay sharp and stay like fit, but the man's moved on from the sport. You know, the dude is a firefighter, father, family guy. He is not fighter Stipe we've known 4 years ago. It's a different Stipe, and if that Stipe could pull it out, people would just be like, Jones, what have you been doing?
Yep.
You know, like.
It'd be crazy. Crazy. Unseat the GOAT right off.
Yeah, because at that point, Dana, now you're pound for pound. Is Stipe the man? Or do you go back to Jones and say blah, blah, blah? Because Stipe beat the man, right? The guy you said's never been beat in there. Is Stipe the man?
That'd be amazing. I love it.
Just to have that conversation.
Just to have it. It'd be amazing.
Yeah.
All right, listen, I was on the Nevada State Athletic Commission hearing. Nothing, I mean, well, I wouldn't say nothing big. It was big. It's not necessarily the most exciting talking points. But first, the new rules, obviously, that go into effect this week in Canada, where the new definition of a grounded opponent, meaning anything other than the hands or feet are touching the mat. So there's no more playing the game of putting your hand down. And there were different definitions around the country. One would be like whether it was weight bearing or not. One would be like whether it was a fist or not. So anyway, now it's just
that's not confusing.
If your arm is down or your knee is down or whatever, you're down. So but so now if you're in that front headlock position and you try to put your hand down on the canvas to get down fighter safety, you're not getting it. They can
enough.
They got
to get down to your elbow.
You got to get down to your elbow, forearm, something like that, or otherwise they're going to rip off knees to your body.
Start doing some Pilates or yoga. We're really stretching that shit out. Find a way to stretch down and touch your elbow while your other arm and your neck are in a guillotine choke.
I had 2 ribs removed so that I can bend over at the waist more and get that down fighter protection. Like, I am committed to the game. I'm committed. So that's one. So anyway, those are going to affect. There is a Apex show here on November 9th. The Nevada State Athletic Commission has not formally.
Are you going to be there? You're going to be at that
I'll be there. I'll be there.
Oh,
yeah, I'll be there.
What? Are you going to be there on that media day?
We'll see.
His face says no, folks. Just let me peel the curtain back.
Let's see how the schedule looks. Dude, I'm so swamped this week, man. It's crazy. But I'm excited. This is what I've been asking. This is what I've been asking for. This is what I've been wanting. So it's a good swamp. But yeah, so November 9th, Apex show, but the NSAC hasn't formally adopted the rules yet. They're going to do that at the next meeting, which will be November 20th, but they did pass a waiver just to say, hey, we're all, just so you guys know, we're all on board with adopting these ABC regulations. Can we just get a waiver to make sure that even though we haven't done it yet, we can still compete with these rules? And they said, yes, we can absolutely do that. So that's happening. The other one is, and again, I mean, I always say, like, not a big talking point, but it is, I guess, a big talking point, but one that has been in the movement for a long time. But they've completely removed cannabis from the prohibited list, so they won't even bother testing for that anymore, which I think is fantastic. Of course, it does. Immediately, I started getting some tweets in reply. Well, what about my man Nick Diaz? What about my man Nick Diaz?
Will they go back and sort of remove anything? But most of that time, time has passed.
Here's the thing: is you're right.
Like that would been because at the time, remember they said like 4 or 5 years.
It was 10 years.
That was 10 years ago.
It was 10 years ago. And
everything's off the books.
By the way, he ended up. If anybody remember right, he ended up being only suspended. They did get the suspension reduced. Everybody remembers the big 5-year order. Yeah. It ended up only being a year and a half.
I was going to say like almost 2 years.
He didn't fight again until 2021, but it was not because he was not allowed to. So just an important detail to remember. Now again, I'm not saying the NSAC did anything right in that situation. I thought it was dumb at the time.
Yeah, it was stupid.
But it wasn't 5 years. It was a year and a half. He just chose not to fight. What I will say is they did fine him. I believe it was $100,000. Now, look, there's no way you're going to get that overturned because let's say you went before an actual court of law. The court of law is going to say, bro, that was the law at the time. You broke the law at the time, so you have to pay the fine. You don't get it back because the law was changed. Now, I can understand why everybody would argue, well, it should be if that's not the law anymore. But I just don't see many situations where they're going to go, oh, well, it's not the law now, so yeah, here you go.
Yeah.
Here's your fine back. But it is.
And that's if they have the money in hand already.
Yeah.
Because depending on when it happens, they usually take the fines out of the purse, and if they have it, and if you don't fight and you don't have that money, how are they going to get
How
that
did
money?
they ever get that money? Yeah, did he ever actually
Did he
come out
ever
of pocket
actually
for the
come out of
100?
pocket for it?
I don't know.
It
Probably, I would imagine. Yeah, to be honest with you, because his next fight was in Las Vegas. That was, of course, the Robbie Lawler fight.
So Dana footed it.
So
Dana paid that for him.
I actually, you know what's funny is I actually started to call him today to see if, hey, let me ask you a small detail. Like, I've never heard this. Did you pay his fine? Because I wouldn't be surprised if he did.
I wouldn't be surprised.
You know what I mean? I'm not saying they
that
did.
Could either, but if you just work that in your next thing, and like I know we have already existing contract, to fight. Is like, how about you take care of this, and this fight for sure can happen, sort of deal.
But if worst case scenario, it came out of that 2021 purse. Of course, the retirement fight with Robbie Lawler, where, the famous, I guess, Robbie asking him, "Are you okay?" Like in life, that was a moment, man. That was a moment.
I mean, I think if there, I guess if he did pay that $100,000 or whatever, I guarantee we'll hear some tweets about it.
I mean, look,
from him,
it would not. If
he's not tweeting about like, "Hey, give me my money back," I bet he never actually paid it.
Yeah. You're right about that. Because, hey, look, again,
I would certainly be tweeting about it.
Well, that's what I was just going to say is that, like, I don't think a court would give him his money back, but I know I sure as hell would be asking my lawyer to at least put in a request. Yeah. Like, let's at least ask, is this up for review?
But again, remember, they always said, as much as they run it like it's a court thing, they've always said in the past, this is not a court of law.
Not a court of law.
Didn't know they
try to
But, I mean, the whole group, for the most part, it's like a whole new commission. Mm-hmm. It's not the same people on there from 10 years ago.
No, not at all.
I remember at that time, I mean, like, it felt very heavy-handed. Not that they don't seem heavy-handed at times now, but I remember it felt like we were going to watch, like, court proceedings, and it was very heavy-handed. A lot of times, I think Marnell came a little bit after that point, and he might be one of the only ones left from that outside of
yeah, he was Bennett. Around then, but he was just...
He was one of the new guys.
He was the new guy on the block
his way in.
10 years ago.
Yep.
I cannot... This is going to kill me. What was the woman's name? Dude?
Marnell? No.
She was the tough one, man. She was a trial attorney.
Yes.
So that's why that was what she did in her first job or whatever. And so that's why she conducted everything like it was a trial. She was the one that everybody used to get so mad at because she did things like a court of law where she would say things like, can you read English? Can you speak English? And it's like it sounds like it's being, completely demeaning, and it is in a way, but all she's trying to do is establish that yes, you do read this language, and yet you disobeyed this one.
Pat Lundvall.
Pat Lundvall, that's it.
She was hardcore.
She was hard.
Yeah, I mean, she was lawyer through and through and through. Yeah.
She was hard.
She's hardcore.
She did
yeah,
not
and
make
if
fans.
you go to Wiki, one of the sentences in there in 2015, she sentenced Nick Diaz to a 5-year ban from MMA for testing for cannabis after initial suggestion of a lifetime ban was overruled by the rest of the commissioners.
They did. They was a lifetime ban.
Yep. The Diaz ruling was overturned on appeal, and Lundvall was accused of animosity towards Diaz. She also, I'll just continue reading this. In 2016, she sentenced Conor McGregor to 50 hours community service, a $150,000 fine, and required him to shoot an anti-bullying video after getting involved in a fracas with his UFC 202 opponent, Nick Diaz, at a press conference with both sides throwing water bottles. I know when I did recently reach out, I didn't think
I was going to say
that Conor McGregor video was not one of the ones listed as being done.
Rising reporter Cold Coffee has found out that none of those were ever produced.
There was only one, and that was the the one that they mentioned was the I think it was Habib one. I'd have to go back.
Habib actually did complete one.
That Habib did something or whatever.
Well, that's funny.
Yeah. So yeah, Lundvall.
Then Arman Sarukian was like, "Well, if I'm not fighting in Vegas, I don't care anyway. F your video."
And I can't remember if he was one. Because I'd have to go back, but it was like one or two. I was like, "This is it." I was like, "Are you like holding back from me or something?"
But it was a different area.
Yeah, it was a total different area. Yeah. So, but yeah, I bet he never actually paid that. But still, what it does for people that are actually in the game right now, I think those people that maybe are still under punishment, they should really revisit it. Like if you're under
a current suspension,
like the past 2 years,
it should be eliminated. And I don't know if that does apply to anybody right now offhand, but if it does, you're 100% right.
But that's also, I mean, that's kind of thing that, I mean, like unless somebody could actually try to pose that question to them, and maybe when I see Jeff and say, is there a process in place, or can people go back and say, or maybe this is the kind of thing that when it comes to that public comment, maybe somebody starts the ball and just in the next public comment and say, I think anybody that's still currently under punishment.
But I know they had been doing like much shorter suspensions because they were kind of already leaning in this direction. Like I think they were doing like 90-day suspensions, which is essentially not a suspension.
And I think that probably too, maybe with the whole sort of as the board has changed players, I think maybe some of the suspensions have went down. They're much more realistic,
definitely,
and less like this heavy-handed board. That I think people were really, and it could be just a mindset. Like the commission is supposed to help, regulate and make sure that these sporting events and things are done safely. But at the end of the day, they're there to help make these things happen because they're a revenue generator for the state. So if you make it so oppressive that nobody wants to put an event on in your state and the fighters can't fight in your state because fighters are going to fight. People are going to do what they do.
Yep.
But if you make it to where, they can't fight again for 2 more years for doing something stupid, that's lost money. That's 2 years of money they're not going to make up that fight. Or maybe they just sort of said, guys, do we really need to be this serious? Is it really this serious?
Especially when the entire
not like on like smoking weed. Obviously,
if you're taking
other things, yes, they're taking
on smoking weed, like come on,
drugs
man.
and things of that sort. Yes,
this need to happen. Hopefully, hopefully all the other states follow suit. It should be important to note, by the way, all local regulations still apply this, and you still would not be able to fight impaired, by the way, if for whatever reason that wasn't mentioned today. But just
don't go in high.
Yeah, don't go in high. Yeah. Like if you're not that your opponent would care, but that is one thing.
Your opponent would rather.
100%. Smoke all you want.
I think every fighter we talked to at once, or just at times brought it up, like would you care?
It was around the Nick Diaz time. We were interviewing fighters. Like, what do you think?
It is like the pain, like the pain's reduced, but they're like, dude, so is their cognitive function. They're like, yeah,
fire it up, bro. I'll buy I'll buy it for them. Dude, I'll get it. I'll get them a bag.
I like the bong for you. Here you go. You want me to pull the slide? You ready?
You be as high as you want, bro. Yep, it's 100%. So, but yeah, you're not supposed to fight impaired. These inspectors are supposed to check that. Like if there were signs of being drunk or whatever, you can't do that, obviously. All right, listen, I want to bring up something real quick. I don't know if you follow this story, but I feel like, and I know I'm going to be on an island here, but I want to say it because it's bothered me. I feel like Donn Davis got done dirty this past week of the PFL. He hosted a town hall, I believe they called it.
Like you think they shouldn't have made him host it?
No. Let me go on. I'll tell you the story. Here's what I think. Now, this was over at MMA Fighting, which you might not even be aware of a website. You might not even be aware that happened.
I saw a little clip.
It was, with Mike Heck. It was with Mike Heck. Now, by the way, I think it was pretty cool that they did it. Pretty cool of Fighting and Mike Heck to put this all together, and cool of Donn Davis to do it. But Don got absolutely skewered because it was asked, and there were a couple things that were said in there, but this one I just thought was a little bit unfair. So they were taking reader questions or listener questions, right? And the question was a very simple one. What is Don's favorite all-time MMA fight? Very, very simple question, right? Now, I will say Mike Heck, who I like Mike. I haven't had a ton of interaction with him, but every time I have, he's been a very pleasant guy. I've run into him in Florida a couple times. I think he lives out on the East Coast. So we've had a few interactions hanging out. Me, him, Jose would be hanging out or whatever. And he's a good dude, and I like his work. I'm a fan of what he's doing over there. I think he does a good job. So I'm not trying to call him out on anything. But he added to it, and I think this is important. He said, so Don, and I wrote down the exact quote. So Don, you have a night out. You go home, and you're just like, man, I want to watch a fight. What's the first fight you're going to find? Now, what a lot of people did was just clip out Don's answer, but I kind of feel bad for him because I feel like he got done dirty. I feel like that clarification from Mike, not that Mike did anything wrong, but I feel like that clarification from Mike changed things just a little bit. Had it simply been, what is your favorite all-time MMA fight, you should be able to answer that pretty clearly. But he said, and it's a lengthy answer, but he says people who are doctors don't watch medical shows. People who are lawyers don't watch legal shows on TV. I'm aware of everything that's going on because it's important for my business, but I don't watch other people's MMA shows for enjoyment. You know what I'm saying? I get a lot of MMA, so I don't sit there and say, let's kick up and watch me a good KSW. It would never cross my head, right? So to me, I'm aware of everything that's going on from a business standpoint, but I would never sit there and say, that's my relaxation away from work. This would be, I'm working. I'm taking in what's working for them. I'm understanding what's going on. But if I'm away from work, I'm away from work. P.S. I'm never away from work. Building a company is hard. I'm on year 7 of no days off, no vacation. So a lot of people took that answer to just be like, Donn Davis doesn't even watch MMA.
Yeah.
So how can he be running an organization? And I just felt like that was wrong. It was a mischaracterization because I actually kind of understand what he's saying.
Yep.
Because I'm telling you right now, I watch everything.
Yep.
But I watch it from a different perspective of like, I'm the exact same way. Now that I'm on the production side of things, I'm like, what are they doing that's good? What is making this work? Now, I do still very much love the sport, but I get, like, I could almost answer the question in the same way. Like,
Yep.
if I'm free, like I sit there and watch MMA by myself when my wife and kid are in bed because I'm studying it. I'm looking at it. But when I'm watching it, I'm thinking of it completely from a business perspective.
Yep.
When I'm chilling, I'm watching maybe football or watching some shows with my wife or whatever the case may be. So like, and I love MMA as much as anybody on this planet. I've spent my entire life trying to work in and around the sport because I love it so much. You know what I mean? So I don't think anybody would ever question, like, John Morgan doesn't even like MMA. I fucking love MMA. But I also don't watch it for relaxation and enjoyment. So I don't know. Maybe I'm on an island here. I saw Donn Davis getting skewered, and I just thought it was a little bit unfair to take that answer out of context and not think about what he's saying. He's not saying he doesn't watch MMA.
Yeah.
Now, could he have just more easily answered the question, just say, well, my favorite fight was probably Clay Collard and Shane Burgos, or you know what I mean?
Like, there's too many to keep track of. I'm a big fan of all the work that they do.
He could have made his own life a lot easier, but he answered it wholly, like, honestly. So I respect his answer, and I feel kind of bad for him because I feel like people took it out of context and they're just slating the dude and not really taking what he said fairly.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Say he owned a pizza shop. He's always thinking about the business, and there's at some point during the day his brain turns off. Are people going to fault him because he's not watching other pizza stuff afterwards? Like, I mean, I know that it's an extreme, but you got to figure this is a business to him. I'm sure he loves it, but ultimately his job is to run the business. His job is not to be a promoter, as much as he now seems to try.
Right.
But there's a guy named Peter Murray who does a better job of doing that as a spokesperson. That's a guy that when he goes out and says stuff, he's supposed to be the mouthpiece, of the company. Donn is not, but Donn sort of jumped into this role out of his own making, and he's just kind of sticking his foot in his mouth. This case, it should be that he's a business guy. He thinks about business. So when he's done doing the fights for the what of that day, yes, he's not watching it every day because he's got other things going on.
Right.
You know, like I say it all the fucking time. A lot of times, if I'm not working, I don't watch fighting. I'll put on anime. I'll put on something different, and somebody say, "Oh, well, you must not like your job because you're not doing it 24/7." It's like, it's not true.
Yeah,
you know, I love the job. I love MMA. I love all other shit, but I also like to turn it off.
That's it.
You know, so when the guy says that he turns it off,
because you can't watch. Like,
you know,
when I watch a fight, I'm very much thinking about how does this impact the rankings? What's the next matchup? What's the talking point?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not just disconnected and being like, I'm having a good time. So I think that was the key thing. If the question had just been left at what the reader asked, what is Donn's favorite all-time MMA fight? And again, I'm not saying that Mike did anything wrong, but I think Mike inadvertently kind of changed the tone of the question a little bit because he said, you're home, you're unplugging, you're relaxing, and you're like, I just want to watch a fight. Which fight is it?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, that would never happen because if I'm watching a fight, I'm in business mode.
Yeah.
So if I'm in relax mode, I want to watch something else because I just want to be in relax mode because I can't watch a fight and just be in relax mode. Yeah. I'm in business mode. So I don't know.
Blame Mike. What the heck?
Oh, let's see what you did there. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't want it to be that Mike did anything wrong because he didn't do anything wrong.
He thought he was tossing him a softball.
Right. He thought he was just.
I mean, if you're going to go out there and act like the mouthpiece, you have to be able to have a couple things in the drawer ready to go.
Yeah.
You know, and he didn't. He fumbled it. You know, and it's unfair that people are going at him because, I mean, like, I think if you can't understand it, then you're just probably a troll anyways, and you just wanted to just bitch about something. But yeah, to be upset that the guy, I mean, if you think the guy doesn't like MMA, the guy helped create a fucking company to promote.
And as he said, year 7 of no days off, no vacation.
Anybody that's an entrepreneur,
anybody that's an entrepreneur that runs a business that puts your ass out there, you know what I mean? Like, bro, like, do you know? I mean, for every regional promoter out there, do you know how nerve-wracking it is to be like, what if nobody buys tickets? What if nobody shows up? What if, et cetera? I mean, you're putting your ass on the line. It's not because it's such a rich, like I'm going to just get wealthy doing this. You know what I mean?
MMA gym owners.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, no, you're passionate about it. So, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not trying to say Donn gave the perfect answer, and he could have given himself a lot. There were much easier ways to answer that, you know what I mean? Hell, you could have been like, honestly, anything the PFL does, if I'm sitting back watching fights, I just love our product. It's amazing. I'm proud. You know what I mean? So it's like
that wouldn't have been purely acceptable.
But it's funny because like sometimes like Dana will give a canned answer or something where like I always joke, like there's a lot of questions that Dana gets asked that I can tell you what his answer will be before he even gives it. You know what I mean? And again, is anybody gonna say that he's not enthusiastic about MMA or whatever? But I don't know. I wanted to say them because it's just been bothering me since I saw it that I get it. I know everybody that's part of social media is, hey, let's just talk shit and let's poke fun at Donn Davis and let's do whatever. I just thought that was a little out of context.
Yeah, it's too bad because he was just trying to be honest about what he really spends his time. Whereas if somebody was like, "Hey, we're gonna have some people coming, you're gonna be doing some questions. They're probably gonna ask you this. You kind of prepare and you get in the mindset of, okay, I'm gonna make sure I say the best company answers.
Yep.
This was probably just a slip where he was like, "Oh, we're just having a casual conversation.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna be honest and tell you, shoot, when I'm home, dude, I just want to watch anime.
Yeah,
like
Korean rom-com.
Korean rom-com.
Donn Davis, a big Korean rom-com guy.
Like, what is wrong? But it's funny. People used to say the same thing about like I hear people that bitch about Dana not being at every UFC event, and I'm like, bro, they do like 50 events a year. The guy at some point,
he's got family, man.
He's got family. He wants to go on vacation, but also he's got other businesses going on. There was one time he chose to be in town on one of the SLS events, which is like a skateboarding extreme sport sort of thing, which is part of the whole TKO and part of all that package. He's also part of that organization. But there happened to be a UFC event on the same weekend. And people were shitting on him because he wasn't at the UFC event. I'm like, he's at another one of his businesses.
That's what you're supposed to. That is exactly
down.
what you should aspire as a business owner.
Yes.
When you have a team that operates your business exactly to your vision without you there.
Yeah.
You are killing it as a business owner.
Yeah.
You are, and now you get to focus on the other business where maybe you feel like it's not being run so because you can only be in so many places, man. And that's just the world of business. That your job is to make sure that people will do what you need them to do without you actually being there. Because you can't be there all day, every day. Like that is literally the goal of business.
It's crazy, and it's not like we'll never be. It's not like we're like, oh, Dana's a great person. Like we're not trying to just tout like Dana's like the superstar. It's just like. Give the guy a break sometimes on something like that. Like, that's just ridiculous. And it just came to mind thinking about Donn being honest and open. I'm like, people find something to shit about when the guy's just talking about business or they're handling their business, and people just find these little things to yell about. That it's just like, you got too much damn time.
I know, right?
On your hands.
Like, sorry, he was chilling with his son.
Like can't believe he took vacation. Did you see him? He was on a yacht with his family. He could have been at this event in so-and-so whatever fucking place.
Yeah. Because that's what you should do.
Because at some point when you work so hard, you want to be able to have time and the money to
relax and enjoy it a little bit.
Spend time with your family on a boat.
That is legit the entire point.
Yeah.
All right, a couple small things I want to say. I wanted to give a shout-out to the Weighing In podcast. They had Josh Koscheck on there. It's obviously Josh the Punk Thompson, John McCarthy. It's their podcast. They had Josh Koscheck on this week. Really good. If you're an old school fan, go listen to it, man. Koscheck talks a lot about where his life is, and he's done very, very well for himself.
That's awesome. I'll go back and listen.
Yeah, it's a really good interview. It's honestly something I want to do more of is staying in touch with the older fighters. And
I'm sure they would appreciate that as well.
100%. I want to do more of it, and I think next year I've been I've been sorting some things out and all that. Here's the thing about it. The older interviews never get the views, right? They're not going to do nearly the type of views and whatever that the latest headlines do or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But I don't care, you know what I mean? Like we're not really doing this as a big financial venture. We're doing this because we enjoy it, you know what I mean? And so that's why I want to applaud.
While you can, while these people are still around, the last thing you want to do is wait too long and then hate for somebody to pass away or something like shit happens,
just time. But I want to do more of that because I really enjoy it, and hopefully people feel the same.
He was such a character,
bro. So he talks. It's so great. So you're so right. It brought back the memories what a character he was. And he talked about it. He's like, look, I just knew that people were gonna hate me. You know what I mean? He's like, I knew that if I got people to hate me, like that, they would care and I would make money. And he talks about kind of just leaning into it, dude. It reminded me. I think I've told this story before, but it's been a long time. It was the Ultimate Fighter 12. Him and George St. Pierre were coaches, and this was over at the old Tough Gym. And they had a media day, right, where we got to – this is back in the day where we would interview all the tough athletes. We would interview the coaches, that sort of thing. They did it. And it was like me, Adam Hill was there, sure Case Kiefer. I don't know if Brett was in town yet. You know, it was that crew that you're used to. But he just drops a casual like, yeah, I've heard GSP's on steroids and HGH, and you know, like so I think we should have better testing, and you know, just kind of threw it as like an offhanded comment. And this was before everybody was live streaming, or you know, I don't even think we were a junkie. I don't even think we were shooting video back then. I think it was just listening to audio. You know what I mean, and writing stuff. And so I thought, you know, let me go back and give him a chance to correct that in case maybe he said something he didn't mean to. And so I kind of went back and revisited it or whatever, and just brought it back up to be like, you know, you kind of casually toss that out there. Like, did you mean that? Or and then he doubled down on it, and he was like, he ended up being forced to apologize for it, and you know, they kind of got in a little bit of hot water with the UFC. But like the next day, I ran into him on the Vegas Strip. I was down there, and I happened to run across him, and I was just like, bro, I'm sorry that you got in all that trouble yesterday. Like I didn't mean to stir that up. I was trying to like let you readdress it in case you want to back down on it. And he just laughed and like gave me the money sign or whatever. Like it's all good, man. I was like, all right. I mean, he got it. Like he understood the business, man. And I don't know. It was a great interview. I just want to shout out if you were a fan of that era and you remember that time. It's a really good interview because he doesn't do a lot of media. He's kind of disappeared. He's not on social media at all. But it was really cool to hear him. And yeah, I applaud them for doing it because I think I know why more people don't do it because the big views and the big clicks and the big money are in what's happening recently, not revisiting the past. But I like when people revisit the past. So.
Yeah, it's awesome. I was trying to. It just sent me down memory lane. I was trying to find where the fight was because I mean, as much as he, was like this bad boy. I remember. I want to say it was down in New Orleans. There was a food shelter where a bunch of the UFC fighters went there and like actually helped, give out food.
Right.
It was him, DC, Luke Rockhold. I can't remember who else maybe was there. I can't remember, but I remember they gave out food. They did all this other stuff, and I remember just thinking like, oh yeah, this is the guy that everybody thinks is a dick, which he could be at times.
Oh yeah.
But here they all were. I mean, granted, they when you're there representing the UFC, you do what you do. You be a good guy or whatever. But you could honestly see like he was connecting with so many of these people that were down and out, and was like really enjoying doing it. And I remember just thinking after, I was like, he's not as bad as people think, like obviously they play a role and they play a character, but I will never forget that. Like I remember
awesome.
being around him at that time.
Like, oh, you're not a jackass.
Fun, but I was like, you're not a jackass.
It's only the stuff in front of the camera.
And now we would just put it and say, oh, the guy's playing a heel, it's playing whatever. This before social media gave a lot of these terms to people. People would play these characters and people would just be the bad boy and embrace it. But then when you get, granted, I would say when the cameras aren't around, but at that time I wasn't media. I was UFC. I was just a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
It's not like we were setting you up on a pedestal and like here. Smile and do whatever.
You're
it's
just
like
when
you're walking around and you see how somebody's interacting with people when they don't think anybody's watching them. That's when you really see like the person. So I got to see some really cool shit from all those guys. It was funny because I remember they were all those guys were just joking each other, working the line because they would take turns putting a little bit of food on the tray, then hand it over to the next one, and then they'd start giving each other, ribbing each other like, oh, you gave him too much this, or you gave up blah, 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 just like joking around. It was really fun. It was really cool to see. But yeah, I was trying to fucking search to see when it was, but it would have been early 2000 or probably 2015, 16, 14, who knows, somewhere in there.
It's crazy, man.
But yeah, it was pretty cool.
Good
but
dude.
yeah, Koscheck was that's interesting. But yeah, that's what makes me want to go back and listen to it.
Or it's worth checking out. Yeah. It's funny. He's about raising his son, and he's like, telling him every day, like instilling values into him, and he's like, always remember hard work pays off. Hard work pays off, and I'm like, that's a beautiful thing because I always talk to my son, look, work ethic means a lot in this world. Like a lot of people. There's other things to life, but a work ethic means something. And I was like, that's cool, man. That's cool. He's instilling that into him. And then later he was like, yeah, and he said it back to me the other day. He's only 3, and he said it back to me. I was like, holy shit, you're getting started early. I respect it, bro. Hard work pays off. Like, make sure. He said, like, he's like, and I respect this as a parent. He's like, his kid's like sees a toy or whatever, and is like, wants a toy, and he's like, what'd you do today? Did you make any money today? What'd you work on? You know what I mean? Like, you don't just get something just because. You got to work it. You got to put some time in.
That's
and
awesome.
I respect the hell out of that. So anyway, I just want to give a shout out to that.
That's what you do with Eli, right?
100%.
Yeah.
No, I just spoil him. Like, I'm terrible. I'm the worst.
You're like, but I like seeing other parents do it.
I spoil the hell out of him, and then I'm just like, hey, I want you to know, you're spoiled, right? You get that, right? You understand, like, it's not supposed to be like this. Like, you get that, right? He's like, no, I know. I'm like, all right. Just
No, he's good. I always see your wife posting the pictures of him doing volunteer work and other stuff. So that's cool.
Yeah, he does a lot of
He's
volunteer
doing his
work.
part. He's doing his part.
He is.
He deserves. He can have a little something.
That's it. All right, listen. One other piece of news that came out today: World MMA Awards. It's official. Virgin Hotels Las Vegas is the 16th annual awards. That is Thursday, December 5th. So that's obviously right before the UFC event that week in Las Vegas. It is actually, believe it or not, and I didn't know this, and Rob Hewitt pointed this out to me. It is actually the place that hosted the first live awards ceremony back in 2009. When that was the Joint at the Hard Rock. It's obviously the theater. They call it now the theater at Virgin Hotels Las Vegas, but it was the Joint at the Hard Rock. So that's actually a.
The Joint sounded much cooler name.
The Joint was a cooler
name.
It's a great venue, by the way, man.
Yeah.
Great venue. We actually did Tough Enough there a couple weeks ago. We're actually going to do one again in December. In that building as well, I believe. I don't know if that's confirmed, but I think it's in that building. But it's a great fight venue, man.
Yeah, it's
the
fun.
If you want to go old school, the old Joint before it was remodeled, it was smaller, but that was a cool venue as well. So anyway, just wanted to give everybody that official announcement that the World MMA Awards is there Thursday, December 5th. I don't think I'm going to be at the awards, unfortunately. I think I have to travel, so I'm bummed.
That's like your thing.
I know. I told my wife that. She's like, "What?"
She wanted to go?
I'm like, oh, she loves going. It's fun. She likes to it's an excuse to get dressed up and go out and hang out. And maybe we'll see. But I do have a CFFC match day event the next day. Actually, oh, no, that's a different one. Sorry. I thought that was the one that was hosted by we're actually doing one later this month in November that's hosted by Ben Askren. So I'm looking forward to seeing Ben Askren. So, yeah. Anyway. Listen, we didn't even talk about the UFC event. Obviously, the UFC's up in Edmonton. A good card, solid card. It is. I will be. I don't know. We're actually. So this is actually super busy. The reason we're doing this early, we talked about it, but just so everybody knows, CFFC match day Thursday night, October 31st. Tune in. NCAA College Wrestling. It is the very, very start of the season. It's cool. We've been granted a waiver. We're starting one day earlier than the rest of the nation, so all eyes of the college wrestling world will be on us. Myself and Shane Sparks will be on commentary for it. I'm very much looking forward to it. Up in Cheyenne, Wyoming, we're going to the Frontier Days rodeo grounds at Frontier Park, so looking forward to that. It'll be another cool setting like we had last year in the barn. I am busy working on production side of it, and then also we'll be on commentary as well, so I'm really, really enjoying that. And that'll get things underway for the college wrestling season. If you don't have a Fight Pass subscription, I would imagine most people that are listening to us do have a Fight Pass subscription and are more mixed martial arts fans than college wrestling fans, since we don't talk college wrestling at all until this. But there is going to be a code. UFC Fight Pass is actually going to offer a code that you can sign up. That I think it's only going to be like $2.99 a month, and it's just the wrestling stuff. So if you're not into MMA, but you want to watch wrestling, but you're like, I don't want to pay $9.99 a month because I don't watch that much. So anyway, stay tuned for that, which I think is pretty cool of them to offer that. They want to reach out to the college wrestling fans. So we're doing that. And then Friday we'll travel out to Virginia because on Saturday morning we'll be at Langley Air Force Base, Joint Base Langley Eustis for a grappling event, Fury Professional Grappling 11. Main event there, Patrick Sabatini and Herbert Burns. Looking forward to that one. A great matchup. I know that's a good one, right?
That's a good one.
I know I like that one a lot. Joe Selecki is there. Dennis Mizuki is there as well. There's a couple of UFC names. We've got a couple of military vets on the card that we'll talk about as well. It's always cool because we're in a hangar on the military base.
That's cool.
So very much looking forward to that. And that'll lead into the event in Canada. So we're kind of like the afternoon matinee, and it leads into the big entree there. So yeah, pretty cool week. So that's the busy week that I got lined up. And,
I'll turn off my rom-com, my anime, and maybe I'll just watch fights all day.
Give it a shot, man. Doing some grappling.
I do have to do the remote
fights.
editing thing. So
you got Mike Bond making the travel. Obviously,
yeah,
the
Bond's
Canadian.
been on it like 3 weeks in a row straight. He did the Francis and then went to Abu Dhabi.
Yep.
And then, straight to
Sure, a couple people did that, right? Did Jose do that? And Oscar
Jose
probably
was there.
did that.
Oscar was there.
It made sense, right? If you're already over there, why not go? If you're already going to Saudi Arabia for one,
if you're
going
to spend that much money to go over, might as well just take the short little hop or whatever. But
now he's back in his native Canada.
Yep.
He'll be helping out remotely.
Yeah.
I will be watching on TV, I guess. I couldn't get a flight out Saturday night, so I'm flying home Sunday morning. So
that's nice.
Yeah. And then, by the way, the rest of the schedule, no MMA for me the rest of the month at all. It'll be college wrestling. So I'm looking forward to that. It'll be a fun one. We've got the November 15th date in Bowies Creek, North Carolina. We got the November 17th date in Toms River, New Jersey. The November 26th date in Heartland, Wisconsin. And that'll be the one hosted by Ben Askren. So
Fun
schedule. So if you've never watched Division I college wrestling, I encourage everybody to give it a shot. It's fun. It's fast-paced, it moves quick, and you see some badass athletes that you're like, if you just let me teach that kid to punch a little bit, man.
I'm surprised you're not going to go see Jake Paul and Mike Tyson.
In Dallas, I know. I thought about that. But it's like, isn't it the same? Isn't it the night before?
Yeah, it's Friday night.
Yeah,
before,
see, I've got
MSG.
I've got an event that night, so can't do it. But I did think about it. You guys sending anybody out there? Oh wait, no, Matt Wells lives there. Yeah, what am I talking about? You don't need to send anybody.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if he was Houston or Dallas, but yeah, I think
he lives in Dallas. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. So that's cool. Everybody's gonna watch. It's gonna be like the most watched boxing of all time, right?
It's gonna be pretty ridiculous.
We got a couple weeks when we talk about that. Everybody's gonna be pulling for Tyson, right?
I saw some footage of him, man. That boy is jacked.
Looks like he's taking right with
Tyson. He's taking all the things. He's taking all the things. Maybe they put that in the writing.
No testing.
There will be no testing for this, and I'm sure Jake's more than happy with that as well because Jake looks yoked up as well.
My home commission in Texas, my home state, they don't test much.
They're like, if this old man's gonna fight, you better put him on all the things, and he looks it. He looks ginormous. He looks amazing, and I'm just like, holy shit, because he wasn't that jacked the last time we saw him. He certainly looks a lot different. And I'm gonna have to go back. Maybe I looked at the picture on him because when you see how he looked when he fought Roy Jones Jr., this is a different Tyson, and this is years later. I'm like, bro.
We all know how aging works, right? You just as you age naturally, you just put on more muscle, get a little bit more ripped.
It's like tested for this one. Not tested for this one, Yeah, it's pretty funny.
We care not to speculate. We're just
no.
All right,
just having fun.
I got a ton of work to do, so I'm gonna go do it. I love it. We got some, like I said, the pre-production stuff, which I'm really loving. Get that tied up, and I fly out tomorrow. So I wish you much success all week long. I will.
Yes.
I guess I'll do we'll definitely do an and a half for our fine supporters over at patreon.com/the MMA Roadshow.
Yeah.
We'll do it either probably from a hotel room, I guess. Or maybe, yeah.
I was going to say, I feel bad because I was going to apologize right off the top because I said, we'll start filming more of these. But you're going to be gone like all month, so we won't have another one.
All month, bro. The travel's crazy.
Next month, we'll try another video one.
The next time I see Cold Coffee, we'll figure out something.
What's funny, as soon as you came in, because everything kind of scrambled around having to shoot or screen record the court thing earlier, as soon as you sat down, I was like, oh, yeah, I said I was going to set up cameras, didn't I? I was like, well... Next time.
Now you know how things have always worked around here. It's like we have big plans, but we also have life that gets in the way.
We forget.
Life gets in the way. We forget. So anyway, but we appreciate everybody that has been along the journey with us. Obviously, it was great hearing from everybody around 500, and now 501 in the books. We'll start edging our way to 1,000.
1,000. Let's do it. And the best thing, if you're already part of the Patreon community, one of the great things about this video thing is that you were able to hop in and say whatever and ask questions. You could do that already over on Patreon. And we'll get to you. We'll get back to you.
There you go. That's where you reach us direct.
Yep.
All right, everybody enjoy. Check out some college wrestling this week, and thanks for listening.